Hey guys, welcome back again. This is Rico, and today we're talking about how to position oneself's mind when it comes to making tickets, when it comes to betting, and a few points that we're going to just discuss here, or I'm going to share with you guys. Things about fixed matches, how to analyze games, should I risk more to make more, how to beat the bookmakers, and things like that. So that wasting much of your time, and we'll start with fixed matches. Usually when I've come across people that are more concerned with uh, games were fixed and things like that, but you find that you need to understand that yes, there are games that some organizations, some people, and whatever, they do manage to fix, and some games it's not possible for them to fix. So you need to look at the leagues and which teams, which games, which countries where there's this issue of match fixing and whatnot. So you're not going to have a team in the Premier League fixing a match. It's risky for them, because already Premier League teams are making a lot of money from their TV shares and whatnot, and all these other things. They are those businesses, those, because teams are actually businesses. So those businesses are already making a lot of money. Teams in La Liga, teams in these other top five leagues, they cannot risk themselves fixing a match for a few pounds just to have their team relegated from the main league, you know, from the main division and whatnot. So this issue of people, whenever you make a ticket, then you find that the game between some top teams, one they lose to a smaller team, and you claim no because they fixed the match and whatnot. No, it's not possible for that. You need to understand which countries and where this is possible for teams, referees, players, and whatnot to be able to fix a match, and things like that. So most of these top five, top six leagues in Europe, it's not possible for them. It is possible, but it's very risky for them, for their company and their position in that league. So they wouldn't want to risk their position in a league for few pounds, for few monies and whatnot. So these top teams, when it comes to match fixing, it's very, very risky. So that's one thing that you need to keep in mind. So if you're going to bet on any team from the Premier League, or from La Liga, or from Bundesliga, or these other teams and whatnot, if the result comes out negative than what you thought, it is what it is. This is football. Even the top teams can lose matches to smaller teams, so you have to accept that. So you don't have to, oh, because I've lost this ticket because they fixed the match and whatnot. If you have that mindset of always thinking this match is fixed and whatnot, you take away one thing that is good about you: the idea of you being able to analyze games, the idea of you being able to think statistically. I don't know if that's a word. um, you are taking away that thing from yourself, because all what is in your mind now, this match was fixed, the matches get fixed, and what, because it doesn't go your way. Come on, you know. So I think I'll be able to talk about more on the fixed matches and whatnot. But there are few countries, yes, they do fixed matches, and that's why you find that these people who sell fixed matches, if they give you a game from the Premier League, from La Liga, from Serie A, from Bundesliga, from these top leagues, it's a bit tricky. But yeah, they do maybe fix, but not on a larger scale. You know what I mean? So yeah, that's so please guys, if you want to be, if you are into baiting and you do not buy fixed matches, and you just want to do it just using analysis and whatnot, it's important that you have in mind that your teams can lose to smaller teams, not because you think that they shouldn't lose to those smaller teams. They can lose to those smaller teams, and when it comes to match fixing, there's nothing you can do about it. If those teams are into match fixing, there's nothing much you can do about. So you just have to mind which teams you pick and from which leagues you pick, and be a bit wary of teams that have come from smaller countries and few parts of Africa and whatnot. So, and in Asia somewhere there, not China, but these other smaller Asian countries where you have these smaller leagues where they do not make that much money. So you find that they do match fixing just to make a few bucks. So with that, we'll talk about how to analyze games. So I've had most of the time when I'm talking to people, I find that most people are more interested in getting tickets from people. Like, I want a ticket, make me a ticket, book me a ticket, give me two teams, give me two odds and whatnot. But one thing you need to know when it comes to these things, you need to really understand what you're doing. You know what I mean? Like, what you're doing with this all betting and whatnot. Are you betting for fun? Do you really want to understand the game? Are you betting because you love the sport? Are you betting because you need some few monies and whatnot? It is there's a saying that goes, say, it is better to teach someone how to fish than keep giving them the fish, because even you, the person who keep giving the fish to someone, you get tired eventually. So it's important, even for you, the person who have decided now that you really want to go into betting and start making tickets and whatnot, you need to learn how to make your own tickets, what teams to pick, what type of markets to go into. You know, if I'm going to go in the 1x market, or if I'm going to be in double chance and all these things and whatnot. You need to understand fully just how Betway works, how all these platforms that you use, how they work and all these things. And when it comes to now analyzing games, and when it comes to you analyzing and picking games, you need to really teach yourself how to not to pick teams based on names, but to really pick teams based on what is happening and what has happened in the past. You know, sometimes history does play a huge part in football. So you find when a team loses to the other team, usually that repeats itself. And sometimes if the current stats are suggesting otherwise, you have to be cautious with that. You know, you have to be careful with that, and not fully rely on history. So another thing is, when you're analyzing rival teams, you need to understand that when it comes to rival teams, stats and all these other forms and whatnot, they don't play any part. You know, like, there isn't much you can get from the current forms of two teams when these two teams are rivals. So you have to look at other things like advantages, home advantages, and a bit of the current form. If the home team has been in top form and the away team isn't in good form, then you can be like, okay, fine, I'll go for the home team, and I'll be a bit more careful and say home team win or draw and things like that. But when it comes to rival teams, form, stats, all these things get thrown out of the window, because these are rivals that, even if the one team was beaten last week, the other month, last season, this season the other team would want to beat that other team. So you have to know and understand that when it comes to rival teams, form and all these things out of the window. So you have to look at other things that you can really consider when betting on this. And if you can't find anything that can help you pick that team that from that game, stay away from it, because you have not so much clear information on what you should go for in that particular game. So that's one thing. So, and then there's when you're analyzing games again, usually people just go for names. You know, like, this team is a name I know because I've seen it several times and whatnot. There's one thing that I think people should take time to really understand and check out. If you pick teams, if you bet on teams in England, you need to know which teams are rivals and which teams are not rivals and whatnot. And in La Liga, you need to know derby matches, you know, a derby game and whatnot. All those things really will help you out to be very careful when you're making your picks and whatnot. So you need to know derby matches like things like El Clasico, and these the top ones we all know, but there are smaller derbies that many people don't really know, you know, and things like that. So you need to invest a lot of time into understanding derby games, you know, like you need to really go through all these leagues that you pick games from when you're making your tickets from Denmark, if it's with Sweden, uh, Portugal, and Netherlands. You have teams like PSV versus Ajax. It's a top game. Then you go to Sweden, where you have Djurgården versus teams like Malmo versus AIK, and and so on and so forth. So you need to really invest some time into understanding some of these games, so that you are sure, because there are a few teams that we've had a chance to see them play in UEFA, in top league, in top tournaments, so we know their names, but they have rivals back home who we don't know about, you know, because just because you see Leicester City play, say, UEFA, it doesn't mean Leicester City are a top team. From where they're coming from, if you compare them to teams like Man City, United, Chelsea, Liverpool, and whatnot. So if Liverpool misses out UEFA position, and Leicester are in Europe, you start thinking maybe that team is far much better than the rest of the teams that come from the same country and whatnot. But you need to understand how that team found itself in that European tournament, so that you don't really just judge them because of that European position and whatnot. So I think we need more, just a separate video talking about analyzing and what we usually use when it comes to analyzing games and picking games. So the next thing that we'll really have to talk about is the issue of should I risk more to make more? Really, when it comes to this one, I think it has to do with just how much you're willing to lose. How much is okay for you to lose? I don't think I need to talk more about that. So just how much money are you okay losing? That's the money that you need to be using for bets and whatnot. You don't want to use more money than you are willing to do. So I think that's it. How to beat the bookmakers. This one, I think this one will make a separate video, but a few things I can say, can just mention about this one is how can you beat the bookmakers? Let's see. Usually when it comes to these things, you know, they say the house has an advantage over us. So if you're going to bet, again, you can combine the two. If you're going to be betting a lot of money and you lose big, that's a huge problem for you. But I find if you bet with you bet small and you win big, I think that's one way you can beat them. Because if you bet a $2 on each ticket you make, and you lose that $2, that's fine. But if you make another $2 ticket and then you win, say, a $50, that's a plus. If you lost 2, 3, 5 tickets and then you win one ticket with $50, you've made some profit. So guys, I'll really need to make another good video on this topic again. We'll make a part 2 for it and just dive deep into most of these topics. So usually when it comes to match fixing, guys, you need to let go of that. You know, you don't have to always, because the game didn't go your way, and think it's a fixed match. Come on, guys, if you're into betting games, it's a game of football, anyone can win. And allow yourself, you know, accept such that will happen in games. And also how to analyze games, invest time in understanding rival teams, and also form, pick good apps that you can use for analyzing games. You can check your stats, you can check form, you can check how they fare when they face those two teams face each other, and should I risk more and more to make more money. Usually this has to do with just how much money you're willing to lose and how much money how much money you're okay losing. And I think betting small, it's a way to go for me, and only risk on smaller odds like 2 odds. Then you can risk a bit more if you are very confident in your analysis. Then how to beat the bookmaker? Just bet small, so that when you lose small, and when you win big. Because if you bet a $2 and your outcome is a $50, so when you lose, you're only losing $2, but when you win, that'll be a 50 for you. So at least you beat them like that. Usually that's what we do. So we find that we can have 2, 3, 4, 5 tickets and not go our way, but just one ticket covers all that loss that we took. So usually that's how we approach our betting, and just how much we stake on the tickets. And we do risk here and there, but not all the time. So fixed matches do exist, yes, but they do exist in smaller leagues a lot more than in bigger leagues. In bigger leagues it's very difficult, so yeah, they can squeeze in one or two. So how to analyze games? You need to get some apps that you can use to analyze, pick stats, check numbers, and like they say, numbers don't lie, so you need to be good at that. With that, you need to see just not just names, but also check their forms and their stats, and also understand rival teams form and stats, and all these other things sometimes get thrown out of the window, and it doesn't really help that much. So guys, make sure to subscribe and make sure to recommend the video to your friends, and if you need more, please leave a comment below, and we'll be more than willing to make another video on this topic.